Please allow me to welcome our distinguished moderator for our last session, Dr. Armin Bauer. Welcome, Dr. Armin. A little bit about Dr. Armin. He is an international development economist with more than 30 years of professional work, specializing in inclusive business, poverty reduction, labor markets, and social protection. He worked on the design and management of development projects, structured finance of development investment projects, and programs within the public and private sector. He was also involved in many operative work, project administration, and led strategic development planning initiatives and impact analysis. Between 1995 and 2017, Dr. Armin was the principal economist at the Asian Development Bank and served as a senior economist at the German Development Bank. He has written many landscape studies and designed inclusive business promotion strategies for countries in Asian and African countries. Dr. Armin Bauer holds a PhD in development economics, a master's in arts in political economy, as well as a bachelor in arts in administrative science. This final panel discussion, entitled Inclusive Business, New Horizon for Socioeconomic Inclusivity in Malaysia, will be highlighting two IB champions from the country. We will hear and learn about the trailblazing journey of the respective companies in paving their way to success. I would now like to pass the floor to Dr. Armin to invite and introduce our panelists for this session. Dr. Armin, the floor is yours. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much, and good morning from Germany, or good afternoon to
I think Dr. Armin, maybe we could have you unmute your microphone, please.
Unmute. Can you hear me?
Oh, we still cannot hear you.
Oh, this is bad. Maybe it's not loud enough. Can you hear me now?
Okay, all right, we can. Thank you very much, Dr. Armin.
It was not loud enough. Okay. So good morning from Germany, and good afternoon to Asia, and good evening, last day, to Latin America and United States. Just maybe 2 words about me on the inclusive business part, because I was involved a lot in inclusive business promotion, both in companies, but also on the enabling environment, what was discussed in the session before. And I also did the landscape study for Malaysia on inclusive business. And I did a lot of policy work. Now, let me introduce the two key speakers today. So one is Mr. Johari Kasim. He is the former banker and he's now at Sirai Malaya, the managing director of that company. And the other person is Mr. Sainat Asmat, or Asmat Sainat. He is the COO of Farm Fresh, a milk company, a dairy company in Malaysia. I think Mr. Sainat has really a lot of experience in that company. He really moved up from, and he knows everything in the company, I think. But before we start, let me give you a quick background on what we are talking about. What is the key feature of inclusive business in agro? We heard earlier the definition that inclusive business is a company which is doing well commercially, yeah, but also very good to poor and low-income people. But what does that mean, doing good for poor and low-income people? Basically, it means that you solve their problems. You're not just contributing a little bit like a CSR activity, but you really solve the problem of poverty and inclusiveness. Now, how can you do that in agribusiness? So agribusiness is mainly a company which is providing income opportunities for poor people. Now, what is the, some agro income opportunities. And what is now the solution if you create income for poor? Basically, the income has to be more than the market rate, because the market rate for the poor people is the poverty line. So if you do not create income which is higher than the market rate, you never bring poor people out of poverty. And creating income above the poverty line is not only a question of what price do I pay for the product of the poor. It's also a question of how can I as a company reduce the risk of the poor people of the farmers when they invest? How can I increase their sale, their productivity and their sale? That all gives income increase. And to do that, an IB company, an agribusiness, has to be very, very innovative and has to come up with good ideas how to increase the income of the poor people. Now, let me start with Farm Fresh today. Farm Fresh is a company in the dairy industry. Maybe Mr. Seinert, you can explain us a little bit why you are an inclusive business and what makes you different from other dairy companies. Yeah, what is the special thing you have which would classify you as an inclusive business?
Hello. Hope everybody can hear me because I'm in Singapore now, attending a conference, Steward Leadership Conference in Singapore. For Farm Fresh, we start as what Mr. Reza said before earlier. We don't know that the business models that we are doing now is related to inclusive business in the first place. The first inclusive business that we are doing is we're helping satellite farmers. We're creating satellite farmers by buying their milk because we're having problem at that time to have a sufficient milk to manufacture, because at that time all the small farmer are a contract farmer to a cooperative. And a cooperative is a middleman that supply to all the major player or the manufacturer of dairy milk in Malaysia. So when we want to have milk, we need to compete with all these big players. So what we do, we go and find this all of our colleague farmer, because at the time we also farmer. Just we didn't have enough milk to manufacture, so we met them, and then we offer them a better price. From there, all these farmer before that they only can get a price of RM1.40. That is equivalent the price of powder milk in that the other manufacturer import from New Zealand. So they're being paid low because of the benchmark of the milk price. So what we do, we offer them a better price. We start with RM1.80, and then there is a very healthy competition of price started. So our competitor, all the big player, at the time we are only a very small company, which is we have only 60 cows in Malaysia, and then we need to buy milk. We desperately want to buy milk at that time because we didn't have enough milk. So we offer a better price that we think as a farmer, this is a logic price. This is a price that everybody can afford a living. So after that, after what we are doing, all the competitors start increase the price also. Then it's become RM2, and then after that, government offer us, because they see our seriousness on helping all the farmers. So government offer us to become an anchor company to develop more satellite farmers. At that time, we developed 30 new satellite farmers by giving them a guaranteed price of RM2.40. So government giving them cows through us. So we will give them a technical and advice how to rear cattle, and then we buy back all the milk that they produce. So from there, we take care of all the 30 farmers. Now, until now, we have, I think, in Malaysia, that all the small farmer we call satellite farmer, we have, I think, more than 60, include Sabah and Sarawak. So now the price is getting better from 2 ringgit 40 cents at the 2012. Now the price of milk, because of the competitive competition between the manufacturer, the price now are 2 ringgit 80 cent to 3 ringgit 20 cent. It's double of the beginning price when we start in 2010. That is our first started in inclusive business. But at that time, we don't know this is inclusive business. We just want to have our colleague farmer. And then secondly, when we start...
Can I ask one question on this pricing? You could go up with the pricing because you had only few farmers in Malaysia producing milk, and that's why the whole industry basically transformed, because everybody wanted to get the milk from the farmers. So the challenge is a little bit how to increase the number of farmers in Malaysia. I see that also as a core risk in a way in your business in Malaysia, because how can you increase the number of farmers? Malaysia is different than poor countries, where there are so many farmers and where you can easily increase the numbers. But going from 300 milk farmers, what you have, I think at the moment, to maybe 30,000, how can you do that, or can you not do that?
From the 30 farmers we have, then we extend to 60 until Sabah and Sarawak. The numbers of farmers keep on increase by our collaborating with the Ministry of Agriculture. We select the farmers, we propose the farmers, all the good farmers to the government. Then government subsidize them, because to start milk farming, dairy farm is very costly. It will for a very small farm, which base of 20 cows, we need to have $500,000 ringgit, which is the setting. The cow itself costs you 10,000 ringgit. The cow is not include barns, fodder, and anything else. It will cost you $1,000,000 ringgit, $500,000, just a very small scale. So the challenge is there, because Malaysia is a Khatulistiwa country. Because we are rearing the temperate cows to be bring from Australia, but for now we are okay because we have our own genetic. But until now, I honestly said it's very hard to double up the number or to increase the number of farmers, because of the climates of our country, because that is the challenge. So what we do, we still maintain whatever numbers of the farmers. We take care all of our colleagues. But in terms of increasing the volume, we ourselves need to invest in a very big scale farming. So now we have 5 farms to take care, and then still maintaining our colleague farmers all over Malaysia. But the numbers of farmers that I can see in Malaysia, there is no significant number increment in terms of increase the numbers of farmers in Malaysia. No significant number. It's still I can say the number is normally like still maintain like years before, because some of them when they start a few years later they will drop from the business.
But you came up with so you cannot increase the number of farmers of B40 farmers because of the Malaysian condition. But you came up with another quite innovative idea, I think, to enhance your value for the B40, and that has something to do with women and women empowerment. Can you explain that?
Then when we start at the beginning of our business, we only sell all in our pasteurized milk. On 2016, we start our UHT milk, ultra heat temperature milk. But in 2016 itself, we started our what we call the program. This is my initiative. We call this home dealer program. We invite it started like this accidentally, because most of my friends lost a job, my family need help, they come to me, ask me, is there any opportunity that can I have in your company? I see your company now doing good. Can you give us opportunity? I said, I have 2 opportunities to offer. That's all. I cannot offer more. One, if you're good in rearing cattle, you can work at my farm. Second, I have an opportunity. Why don't you try to sell this milk from house to house or to your community or to your friends? So they take the second option. Okay, I can try. So they start to doing this one. So I start recruiting the home dealer. I start recruiting the home dealer in 2016. But at that time, I didn't not yet started the UHT milk. They start with the pasteurized milk. The pasteurized milk, when they start selling the pasteurized milk, there is a challenge, the cold chain challenge. So you need ice, you need fridge, you need everything because to maintain the temperature of the milk. That's the challenge. But surprisingly, they take this challenge. They handle the milk with care and everything. But at this time, it's very rare. I think not even a company in Malaysia selling milk from house to house. They take this opportunity. And then this program and welcoming by all the communities because make them easier. No need to go to supermarket to buy a milk. People, all of this home dealer can send the milk directly to your house. If the milk gets spoiled, you can instantly call all the dealer. I got spoiled. You know, the dairy business is very sensitive, especially in Katulistiwa weather. Then I start with a few of my friends. Then I offer this opportunity to my staff as well. So all the lower income staff, all the bottom of the pyramid income of the staff, a supporting staff, they start this business. Boss, I want to start this business. Can you give me this opportunity? Okay, can you proceed? So that's how this business start, and then it start growing. Many people want to do this, and then when we start our UHT, the ambient milk that can store in room temperature, there is many people to come to do this business. Up until now, I think there is 2,500 dealers that we have in Malaysia. Consists of housewife, B40s, people that retrenched by their company. So we assist them and giving them opportunity. At early stage, they're just doing this as a part-time. I think 50% of these numbers are now doing this business full-time. And then their income is between 500 ringgit to 3,000 ringgit average. Then some of these people, I think in terms of 100 of these people can get 5 figures income by selling milk from house to house. So they are doing expo, they're doing car boot sales. And then now, most of them, I think hundreds of them become a supplier. They supply the milk to all the sundry shop, to the mini market. Even now, when they started, they just start with 500 ringgit. And I think more than a few hundred people now having their own lorry, their own van, their own trucks, pickup truck to sell the milk. And then some of them now even have a shop by selling milk. That's the scenario of Farm Fresh, how we start our inclusive business. But at that time, in 2016, I don't know that this business is inclusive business. That what we do is just to give opportunity to our colleagues, to our friends.
Yeah, but the interesting thing is, in your case, is that you innovate, and that's why you are an inclusive business. You innovated on generating more income for the poor people, and you saw that you cannot generate more income for the poor by through the supplier channel. So you opened a new, completely new business line, I would say, which is the distribution channel. And here you have on the supplier side, you have 250 farmers. And on the distribution side, you have 2,500 farmers. And that is growing. This 2,500 number is further growing. So this is very interesting. And it shows that inclusive business, if they innovate a little bit, can come up with ideas to help more poor people. And you mentioned the numbers for the income on the supplier side went up from 1.40 ringgit per liter to meanwhile 3.20. And you even set the standard in the industry. But the interesting thing in my view is the distribution model, where people had nothing before or only part-time job with 500 ringgit, and then now come up with 3,000 ringgit. And that's really an interesting story. So this feature of be innovative to solve more problems of poor people or problems of more poor people, that's what you did. And that's why I think you should be really lauded for what you have done. And you say always, we didn't know that this is inclusive business. So that means that in Malaysia, perhaps then there need to be more advocacy for companies like yours, that you do not only commercially well and financially well, you are a very good profitable company, but you also do a lot of good things for many, many poor people. And that's, I think, what IB is.
Thank you. I think for this home dealer, it is keep on growing. Now we are keep on recruiting a new dealers all over Malaysia, and then for the next few years, I will focusing on East Malaysia, because the poverty bottom line poverty rate in East Malaysia is higher than West Malaysia. So now we are open, but there is a lot of education need to be done in this program. So now our focus is to train these people to become not only part-time or just extra income or as a micropreneur. We want them to become a genuine businessman, businesswoman. We need to train them. Now our focus, how to train them to sustain in business. That is our next focus in our IB program.
This is also a very interesting feature, what you say. Unlike social enterprise, which do a little bit of, hand-holding for women and they stay at that level, you say we want to train them to really become entrepreneurs and quite basically rich entrepreneurs. That's what you want. Your purpose is many people and well-paid people, and that is only possible by making them, a real entrepreneur, not a livelihood. That's very different. I think you have internalized this, that to help the B40, you need to make the B40 business people or business women in this case, even not just livelihood. And I think that's quite interesting. Now let me ask you a question. Your company has limits on the growth of milk production, not on the sale, but on the production side. Now, what does that mean? There's a limit for the company? You cannot really grow anymore in the future, or how do you address this? Where do you get more milk for the women to sell?
Okay, what we are doing now, we keep on expanding our upstream in terms of farming. Now our new farm in Taiping, in Perak, will operate soon by this end of this December. That will produce another 7 million liter a year. So our farm in Australia also, we have 3 farms in Australia. Our farm in Australia also supporting us in terms of milk. So we bring all the liquid milk from Australia. I think 40% of our milk come from Australia now, all the liquid milk. And then the best part is we also doing inclusive business in Australia. We buy a milk from all our colleague farmer in Australia, because we have farm in Australia. We know what is the feeling being a farmer. So we offer all of our friends nearby our farm to sell milk to us. So we buy more and more milk from day to day, and then we bring it to Malaysia. That's how we're going to say.
This is a good point for APEC to consider. I mean, a regional exchange, regional trade. Yeah, maybe APEC should label companies which do good in Malaysia and in Australia. But this idea of bringing milk from Australia. So you said 40% of your production, meanwhile, comes from Australia. That's basically your solution, since you cannot scale the production in Malaysia. You bring it from another country. But can I make a suggestion? Don't go to a rich country like Australia. Go to a poor country in your neighborhood like Cambodia. Yeah, then you have the poor people in Cambodia rather than the middle-class farmers in Malaysia.
So
perhaps for your consideration.
Mr. Armin, we're going to invest in Philippines as well for
even
next
better.
year. So we will start our farm in Philippines for next year, and then maybe next year also we start our collaboration with Indonesian company to set up a farm in Indonesia as well.
Now, this is good news. So here we have a larger company, a larger inclusive business company, which is doing impact in Malaysia, mainly through distribution, and impact in Philippines and Indonesia and Australia at the moment, but let's focus on Philippines, Indonesia, through production. I think that's a very interesting case. Now, you are not yet labeled as inclusive business. Would a labeling, an official labeling from SME Corp, from the government, an official type of accreditation, not something you create and then, whitewash and so on, because many companies copy, but an official accreditation, would that help you in your business?
I think it will help us if there is a label of inclusive business. But to have a label of inclusive business at our packaging or in our company, but many people, I think, in Malaysia still don't know yet what is inclusive business. If you put a label that people don't know what is inclusive business, me myself, after SME Corp invite me to come to become one of their partners, then I know this is inclusive business. So for me, there is a lot of things need to be done in Malaysia to educate Malaysian company that what is inclusive business. Then we can use this label. And
I agree, but I think that can be done very quickly, even if it's a lot. Give you the example of Cambodia. In Cambodia, we started in 2000, I would say 2019, 2020, with an inclusive business program. And it really developed in 2 years or 3 years, meanwhile, into a real movement, where you have government incentives, tax incentives for this kind of companies. Everybody talks about it. So everybody wants to be accredited as inclusive business. That's the companies want to be accredited. So I think this is a challenge, or not a challenge, an opportunity for SME Corp to really develop more advocacy on IB and more and perhaps a label or an accreditation label. That would be very good. So let me turn over to Sirai Malai. Sirai Malai is actually a smaller company, first of all, Sirai Malai belongs to a conglomerate of 4 companies. So we are only looking at Sirai as the inclusive business, not at the whole company group, because the rest is not directly working with farmers and so on and so forth. So it's a smaller companies at the moment, Sirai Malai, much smaller, but you have the chance that you can grow, because you don't have the problem of not enough farmers. Well, you have that at the moment, but you don't have the problem in a systemic way of not enough farmers producing lemongrass. Now, can you tell us a little bit about your story?
Thank you very much, Dr. Armin. Very good day to everybody. Probably let me start. Let me just introduce myself. My name is Johari Abu Qasim. I'm from a company called Sirai Malaya, who producing lemongrass for various products, including medical products. Actually, a subsidiary of a bigger company called StarMedic. Let me just quickly explain the relationships. Maybe people will ask what is why is this medical company doing into agriculture? Actually, the company, the medical company or Star Medic, we are a manufacturer of medical device. We are also an exporter of medical devices. We are already exported to over 20 countries all over the world for our medical device. Our expertise is into ventilations. We are ventilator experts in the country. We produce many products related to ventilations. This maybe, if I may say, during COVID-19, after we have a very good run. It's actually like a blessing in disguise, if I may say, to us, because we are doing quite well. So we expanded. So there are a few things under the CSR programs that we actually did. We actually opened clinics, free clinics, medical clinics, because we are a medical company. We have opened medical clinics in many villages in Malaysia. Of course, we are also do a lot of programs like food program, food banks program. And one of the things that we did was to help the villages because many of them lost their income during the pandemics. So one of the things that we produce is actually that we actually expanded into agriculture, which is to produce lemongrass plantations. Because in our experience throughout the medical industries, many of the pharmaceutical products, there are of course many ingredients. One of the key ingredients are lemons and also lemongrass. These are the two key ingredients. So Malaysia being a blessed country, we have plenty of these products, especially lemongrass, but we are not really harvesting in the full potential of lemongrass. That's the reason, one of the reasons why the shareholders of Star Medic invested into Serai Malaya, into producing serai or lemongrass crops. We actually just started. If we compare ourselves to Farm Fresh, we are way smaller in terms of agriculture. We started a factory in Malaysia, which is about 1.5 hours from our city, Kuala Lumpur. We start meeting those villagers. We ask them to produce certain specific lemongrass, certain specific species for us, because only certain specific species that we want to use for our medical properties that we can do extractions. Of course, when it comes to lemongrass, there's always use for F&B or food and beverages. The factory that we built in Malacca, currently we are running about only 5% capacity, 5 to 7% capacity. We only producing about 8 tons. We now managed to get about 5 groups of villages contain about 50 people. Okay, that only be able to give to us about 2 tons per week, which is grossly insufficient for our productions. So that's the reason why we are looking into getting duplicate more, looking for more of these families to produce the crop for us. The country is blessed with a very fertilized, very good lands, so we are hoping to get more. Our full capacity, if we were to run 100%, is about 160 ton or 160,000 kilos per month. We are only running about 5% of it. We are hoping we can get more of these participants to join us to produce what you call this serai for us, or lemongrass for us, so that we can help. Currently, we are helping about 50 companies, 50 individuals coming from 5 different areas. We are hoping we can go to all the way up to 6,000 individuals to produce if we were to run 100% full capacity in extractions of lemongrass.
So this is interesting. This is very interesting. So you say we started the company, we make some money already, but we are very low capacity still because of lack of supply. Basically, supply from 50 farmers, but we
Yeah.
have actually a factory for 5,000 for 6,000 farmers. Now,
Yeah.
how can you go from this 50 to 6,000? What does it take? Yeah, what would you do as a company to go from currently 50 farmers? You are not an IB with 50 farmers, I would say, yeah, but to go to 6,000 in, let's say, 5 years, by 2025. What would trigger? What is the trigger there?
Okay. We are actually equally surprised that there is such thing as IB business in Malaysia, because before that we haven't heard of that. But it's good. It's good that we actually work together with SME Corp, who actually help us in this program. Our expansion program is very simple. We are looking to get more of these so-called planters who can able to supply to us to maximize our capacity. Currently, these 5 localities or 5 villages that supply to us about 5% of our capacity is within about 50 kilometer radius from our factory. We are trying to secure more within this 50 kilometer radius. Probably we increase to about 100 kilometer radius. I think by the time that we reach to 150 to 200 kilometer radius, we will be able to meet our full capacity that can yield about 160 ton per month. To duplicate is very simple. We actually have a plan to go to East Malaysia, like to Borneo side, because land is abundance over there, and there's a lot of still opportunity for us to expand to that area. So, but one of the critical factor is definitely logistic. That's the reason why I put radius kilometer within our factory, because it has to be sent. Because there are very critical that certain species, number one, when they harvest after exactly about 6 months, when the leaf starting to wilt, starting to turn yellowish or brownish, that is the best time for the harvester to harvest and send to us. Yeah, so it has to be very quick, within a day, that this lemongrass to reach us, so that we can actually maximize the extractions. So if we were to go to other places more than 200 kilometer radius, or even if we were to go to the East Malaysia, say for example in Sarawak or Sabah, we have to have our similar factory and open the factory there. It will not be logical for us to get the lemongrass to send via ship or anything like that to the factory. So it's actually the matter of duplications, not only for the farmers, but also duplications of the factory for us to produce and to meet our requirements.
What you say is in the environment where the factory is now, in the geographical environment, 50 kilometers up to 150 kilometers, you say, or maybe maximum 200, but let's say 150. There you cannot get so many more farmers. You cannot get 6,000 farmers. So much better is to go to Borneo, yeah, to Eastern Malaysia. And why don't you take your whole factory and bring it there?
Yes, that's the idea. But I don't want to get it mixed up. Like for example, if 200 kilometers, we can meet the 6,000 families, or to supply to us about 160 tons per month. Of course, beyond 200 kilometers, we can always duplicate the factory and open that. The thing is about us is that we have certain objective that we want to achieve, especially when come to manufacturing and when come to exports of the products. We have to reach a certain volume so that the ROI can be met. Of course, and we're talking about business. Of course, we have to look into return of our investment. So it only makes sense for us to duplicate the factory instead of relying on the transportation if it's the supply go more than 200 kilometers. That's the reason why. If we were to actually go to Borneo or to Sabah and Sarawak, we definitely have to open our next factory there. Because of course Sarawak, there's a lot of land, there's abundance, they are very fertilized, they receive plenty of suns. So lemongrass need a lot of sun for their plantation. So there's a good place for us to expand.
And is there an incentive, or would you expect or hope for as an inclusive business if you say, I promise the government I employ 6,000 people in 5 years in Borneo, in the poor areas, Eastern Malaysia. I promise that to the government. In exchange, I want something from the government, some kind of help, for example, on land development or something like that. Would that be a deal?
Well, I will not put it such a way bluntly, Dr. Amin. But what I can say is that like this: it's a reciprocal. Of course, we are helping the community to give them works, to give them what we call this opportunity to make more money from what, because we are actually buying the lemongrass above the market price, simply because number one, we are actually asking for certain specific species, and we've put some certain spec, certain timing and everything. Of course, there are a bit of premium for us to pay for that, which is okay for us, because we have our product costing and everything available. The things about what you mentioned just now, it's always about how we work along with the government. Of course, if we were to assist the villagers and the farmers, we as a company, definitely we actually talk about how further we can help in terms of giving job opportunities, even investment opportunities. We are actually talking to many avenues, or looking into many avenues in terms of investment. Even we talk to some cooperative. Some of these villages, they are not really can be considered as B40 category. They are doing quite okay in their daily life. It's just that they have some money they would like to invest, and the best way to invest is through cooperative. There's for the cooperative to run the business and make money from that. I think that's probably one of the way in terms of investment that is proven that can manage the business. But in terms of government support, definitely we'll welcome that. I would say it's probably better in terms of tax incentive, because it's actually help for a new company, new subsidiary like us. And of course, on top of that, probably the government also can help the villages, not to us, but maybe for the villages of assistance of leasing the land, make them to use many of the lands which is not be fully occupied now. They can use the land to plant lemongrass, and in between probably they can do intercropping and everything to increase their yield, and also to get the land more fertilized. Everything that is definitely something that we can work with them. Involve a lot of training. Definitely want to do a lot of training, because we have a certain what we call this experts in these lines. In fact, we just do a bit of training couple of weeks ago about training how to increase their crops and how to increase their yield and everything. So this kind of thing that we would like to see and work along with the government in terms of availability of land, in terms of investment.
So what you say is help the villagers leasing the land through the company, because not the general agriculture program for leasing any kind of land, but basically leasing through you, so that the farmers also get technical assistance, training,
yes,
as you said.
Yes,
so that would be best. And the second one was tax incentive, I think. I have one more question before we turn to some of the questions in the chat, because there's some very interesting questions there. One more question is, lemongrass is actually lemongrass by itself is a relatively low value product. What you make out of it is a high value product, namely you put that into something which is a medical product. That's high value. So you earn a lot of money when you sell that, particularly when you export it even. But for the farmers, the value is small. So to classify as an IB, you would have to pass on some part of that money also to the farmers. And I think you will do, because that's your strategic intent. That's my first question. You cannot, let's say, exploit the farmers and pay them little. You have to basically pay them more. as the milk company did. Yeah, they pay more than the market rate, much more. They're high the price in the sector. The second point is, would there be an option to do also intercropping with lemongrass, because that could increase the income of the farmers? Is there an option that you have another product? I don't know what you can do with lemongrass, maybe ginger, and then you put ginger and lemongrass and you have a medicine. I don't know. But is there another product you can invent as a company, you can innovate as a company, so that the income of the poor is increasing by intercropping?
Right. Okay. For your first question, definitely, like I mentioned just now, we are actually paying above the market price, what we are paying to the farmers. Currently, we are paying 2 ringgit and 50 cents Malaysia per kilograms, which is above at least 30 to 40% from the market price that what we are paying to them. But that's not only the benefits of the farmers that we have been working with them. Of course, we provide the training and everything. On top of that, we have our own planning as well. There are places that we are providing free clinics, because we are a medical company, like I said in the earlier my opening statement. There are certain places that we are providing a clinic for free, and even for probably very cheap services. We go to the smaller villages, and we give them, we open a clinic and we give them a medical service for free. That's one of the things that we are actually providing. Even before the Serai Melaya started, and of course, there are other things as well that we provide the training and like I mentioned just now. So
yeah,
it's
that is more CSR part. That's not really business. This free something. Let's not look into that. Let's look into something you can do as a business where you make money and the people earn also. There was one question or one suggestion, Mr. Johari. Actually, Miss Mary Jim, who was in the former session, she said she would like to be a supplier to you. So here we have already an inclusive business being a supplier to another inclusive business. I think that would be very good. So you may want to contact Miss Mary Jim she's in Sabah. I think SME Corp can give you the email address, or even I can send. I know her. So this is a very positive thing. If other agro-business say I can provide inputs for Mr. Johari. That is one. Then there was another question for Mr. For Farm Fresh. There was a concrete question on what are the criteria for selecting home dealers. I mean, what type of women do they have to be? What type of business mentality do they need?
That actually, there is no specific criteria that when we select our home dealer. There is no specific criteria. Say you need to have this much of money or capital to start with, or you need to have a degree or whatever. Just we open this an opportunity to everybody who want to have an opportunity to get extra income. Yes, you can join us. You can start as low as 5 ringgit as a start, 500 ringgit as a start. To start a business. Then from there we will guide you. We can assist you, because we have stockists. We develop a stockist to assist these people as well. The stockists also started from 500 ringgit. Now they become the umbrella to all of these dealers. We have 54 stockists all over Malaysia, where all the dealer go and take the stock from these stockists. So
But
in
I
the
think
same
you also
time,
provide some business training, no? You do also some business
yeah,
training, financial literacy, and all this kind of stuff, how to run a business and so on.
yeah,
That's what you
yeah,
provide, no?
yeah. We give them a business training. Even we have meeting with them frequently. Once a month we have meeting. Me myself. I think 60% or 70% of my time focusing on this group. Since ever I started this business, I think I travel a lot, because if I want to meet them, to give my opportunity to take care of these people, so I need to travel from place to place to give training. Sometimes I need to give talk to them to motivate these people. You know, as a micropreneur, these people need to be motivated. So I travel a lot. I think in a week, I need to travel from place to place. Like I need to go to Kota Baru. After Kota Baru, I need to go to Johor Bahru. After Johor Bahru, I need to go to Kuala Lumpur. So there's a lot of job need to be done. But it's a worse work to do, because 1/3 of our revenue, come from this group. It is 150 million sales, 150 million sales a year from this group. So that's why I'm focusing more on this unit. So from this unit also, we also train the intern, what we call intern undergraduate intern student from university to join us, because we need to take care a lot of dealers. So we train all of this group to assist these dealers. So many things need to be done in this group, in terms of training, in terms of human resources, human capital, human development. So that's what we are doing now to sustain and to maintain this business. For us, this is our human capital, that we need to secure and need to train from time to time. Mr. Amin.
It seems to me that one of the things we should recommend to SME is to really write down the story of your companies and the innovations your companies bring for the BOP and for business, basically for return, for taxes, because that's what the government can tax at the end. So a really good impact story, not story, but with numbers, as you said, we have 2,000 people, women, they earn one third of our total revenue. This is about 150 million ringgit. That's quite a lot, something like that. So really with numbers, I think that would be very useful to have that as part of Sharisa's program, to have very good write-ups on the 4 companies he has in his pilot, real good ones, which can be then also distributed. And this is a question for me to Mr. Johari. Would such a write-up help you in your marketing, because some of your sale is going abroad? Would that, or again back to the label, would that be an incentive for selling the stuff in United States or wherever you go, Europe? Would that be an incentive for you? A good write-up or a good label, a good accreditation, official stamp with the government saying this is really an IB?
Of course, it definitely helps. The time he was talking about labeling and certification. I'm from medical industries. Definitely, certification is one of the critical thing for us. We have proper audits. We have ISO. We have CE and US FDA. We have gone through all that process. We would like to see that definitely in IB business, because it actually hold the integrity of the products, definitely. Number 2 is definitely have the sales. But maybe it's not as complicated and not as tedious as US FDA or CE marking for IB business. I would like to see harmonization, definitely, number 1, in terms of recognitions of IB businesses among the APEC countries. That means if Malaysia were to produce APEC product, if I want Malaysia to produce IB-based product, it has to be recognize and give certain some sort of priorities, or probably double taxation avoidance, certain promotions. That will be actually a very good initiative coming from APEC countries. For example, I would really like this concept of the certifications of those fisheries who promote sustainability. They have certain logos, the blue color fish. I remember seeing that in Europe recently, meaning that whoever company who participate in these sustainabilities of fishings, they have given certain priorities in entering certain markets and everything. Probably we can have similar certifications, similar working relationship, especially starting off with APEC countries. That will be a brilliant move for this year.
Since this IB discussion is in other ASEAN countries also, I mean, some countries are very progressive already, like Vietnam or Cambodia, Philippines partly. So it's Thailand will now start also. They will all do, or they have already done, accreditation. Let's say a common framework, a common framework for all countries in APEC, for example. That would be a way forward, and then you can have, if you want to go even a step forward, you can even have trade incentives saying for IB companies, they pay whatever, 1% less import tax or whatever it is. So, or 5% less or something like that. I think this is an agenda which maybe Malaysia can bring to the APEC, to do a common accreditation system. We can use what happened in ASEAN already in many countries. And maybe a common certification system and perhaps trade incentives. Would that be something you would suggest to SME
Yes,
Corp
definitely, definitely, Dr. Amin. Yes, that's very, it's a very bold move. It's definitely a very good move. I think we need that because, of course, now Malaysian is a small countries. We can leverage that into Asian, if not APEC. We will have a bigger reach, so that our product can be marketed and sold throughout the area. I think we need that kind of certain recognition, certain certifications, which is recognized by all the APEC countries. Yes.
But to go that route, I think SME Corp has to scale up because four companies, that's not enough to do a certification. I mean, in Cambodia, for example, we started with 20 in the first round, and now we have again 15. So we have already 35. In Vietnam, we started with 20. So I think, and actually even for Malaysia, our landscape study identified 15 companies. So we can already accredit those 15 plus the 4 now. So we have already 20. I think that's a way forward to move so that you have also some scale from the government side. Coming to that, I have one question. The ASEAN has a policy guidance on inclusive business, which was endorsed by the ASEAN economic ministers in 2020. So there is a document which all the economic ministers of ASEAN approved in 2020, and that document says countries in ASEAN should go IB more, should have the following 10 things, and so one was a strategy on IB. Number 2 was more awareness raising on IB. Number 3 was an IB certification accreditation system. Number 4 was a facility for business coaching, IB type of business coaching. This is not the normal business coaching, I think. Number 5 was tax incentives and procurement incentives. Procurement, for example, might be relevant for the milk company, in the milk school milk, school feeding programs. Number 6 was investment facility or a risk reduction facility. Number 7 was the linkage to the SME policy, which is given in Malaysia already through the SME championing this. Then there was one recommendation on better impact monitoring and reporting. That's what we talked about, coming up with good stories. and then regional exchange, something which is more regional, regional in APEC, for example, annual meeting on inclusive business, something like that. So these 10 recommendations, what do you think about that, Mr. Johari and Mr. Asima? What do you think? What do you think about those 10 recommendations? Which one would you think? Which one would you want to have in Malaysia?
I think if you ask me, I want all.
Okay. Okay.
I want all, but for our company, when we get involved in IB models, when we get involved in IB model, because when we want to go public listed, when we want to go public listed, nowadays, if we want to go to public listed, the ESG, environment, social governance, is one of the criteria that need to be calculated in your KPIs. So what we are doing, now, we are among the highest score in a public listed exercise company, because that's what we do now. Another thing
I saw
is
your ESG report. Do you think
yeah.
you can have in your next ESG report also a section on why you are inclusive business? I mean, a separate topic on inclusive business, not just on how do we do CSR and how do we do environment and
yeah.
But I think that would be an interesting thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So another thing is when we do inclusive business, we have now we are going to, I think, to a third phase of inclusive business in Malaysia in our home dealer program. We have a new challenge now that we need to solve. When their business start growing, they need assistance. So this assistance need to be come from government to assist them. We as a company, we already do our job as a Malaysian company to give opportunity to all these B40s to the poverty people. We give them opportunity. But when come to another level, I think this is where SME Corp or government need to interfere and need to give hands to all these micropreneurs. This is one of 10 that what you are saying before, Dr. Amin. This is need to be tackled. Because when the business start growing, like what I told you before this, they operate from their house, no need to pay rental. Later, I have more stock, I have no place to put, so they start to rent a shop. When they start to rent a shop, so some of the margin they need to pay to the shop owner. So half of my income gone already, just because of this. Before this, I can earn 3,000 ringgit. Just because I don't have enough space to store the product, I need to rent a shop. So when I rent a shop, I need to pay. When I rent a shop, I need to have a worker. So half of the income go to the shop owner and to the worker. So they get less. This is the one of the factor that government need to assist to this entrepreneur. That is my opinion. And then in other case, in terms of accreditation, there's a lot of things to be done by SME Corp of Malaysia in promoting IB. I think for me, IB is a very good model, but there's a lot of company in Malaysia I know that doing IB.
Yes,
yes, we don't
agree.
know a lot.
I agree. I'm sure we would find many. I'm sure.
Yeah.
If the government decides to go into a movement, into a program forward, we will find many. So it's not awareness first, but basically it's government decision to go into that first.
Yeah.
Then you see the awareness coming.
Yeah. If government give more incentive, then you can see a turnout of number of I do a business, I do inclusive. Everybody said they are doing inclusive business. I think I think in terms of numbers, I think more than 100 in Malaysia that are doing it. Yeah, just they don't know, like myself before, we don't know that the thing that we are doing is inclusive business. So there's been more job need to be done by SME Corp to promote inclusive business to the business community. So from this number, I think from this activity, many business community will aware that they are in inclusive business, actually, the real one. That's my opinion.
Perhaps
Dr.
we should have a strategic discussion with Hasima Foundation, whether they can finance technical assistance for a program going forward on inclusive business, together with SME Corp. Now, Mr. Johari, a last question to you, because I think time is running out, about this trade incentive. Since you are exporting also, trade incentives, is that something you would be interested in through APEC? I mean, something for APEC. What could APEC do?
Of course, if I just quickly touch a bit about the question earlier that you mentioned about how we want to move forward about the 10 recommendations. I think we must not lose sight of the real objective, actually, to alleviate the B40s or those lower income people to higher income by generating more and more IB business. I think the products you produce is definitely not only used locally, we can always export it, because I'm an exporter and also a manufacturer. So there are certain ways that we are actually quite familiar with. And of course, for us to export more, we have to look into get some more of accreditation, to get to more on incentive and everything, taxation, promotions and everything. So I think that is something that maybe to get EU or US FDA to participate, probably a long shot. Maybe we can start with ASEAN or APEC. I think in terms of recognizing of mutual IB businesses between the countries, that will help to promote the products in other countries. That will be a good way to move forward, Dr. Amin.
Yeah, that's something which is actually in discussion in the context of ASEAN. The government of Cambodia proposed just a month ago, you were in the meeting actually, they proposed an ASEAN Inclusive Business Center. And one of the things that center could do, one of the things is exactly what you said, maybe a common accreditation in ASEAN for inclusive business. And I think the same can be done through APEC. Now, the time is over. The time is over. I can see already Ms. Irfan there. Giving you the floor again for introducing the next session. Thank you very much for this very lively discussion. I think we should continue that. We should not stop here. I like the two companies very much. They're good examples of inclusive business, and perhaps we can do something together in the next 2-3 weeks even, or 1-2 months with SME Corp to profile you, for example. That is a simple thing we can do already now. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. All right.
Ms. Irfan.